Hello, my name is Cody Rex, and thank you for joining for my presentation. Today, I'll be discussing the corporate social responsibility strategy of Procter & Gamble, looking at environmental sustainability, community engagement, labor practices, and ethical governance. I'll also highlight several areas where the company can improve and offer recommendations to further advance corporate social responsibility in conjunction with company values, brand image, and social purpose. Let's start off with an overview of our agenda. Here's what we'll be covering throughout the presentation. First, we'll take a look at P&G's environmental impact and the steps they are taking to reduce emissions, waste, and water usage. Second, we will explore how P&G engages with the community through programs and philanthropic efforts to address health, hygiene, education, as well as disaster relief. Third, we will analyze their labor practice and diversity and inclusion efforts, including how effectively they are ensuring fair compensation, inclusive hiring, and support for employees with diverse needs. Fourth, we'll touch on governance factors, including how ethics, board oversight, and compensation tie into their CSR performance. And finally, we'll identify several areas for improvement, followed by specific practical recommendations that align with the company's mission and brand image. Let's start by looking at Procter & Gamble's efforts to reduce its environmental impact and support long-term sustainability across its operations. Environmental sustainability has become a main component of P&G's corporate strategy. Through their Ambition 2030 plan, P&G has set a major goal to reduce greenhouse gas emissions from direct operations such as company-owned facilities and vehicles and indirect emissions from purchasing energy by about 65% by 2030, compared to a 2010 baseline. So far, they've achieved 58% reduction largely through energy efficiency measures, renewable electricity sourcing, and improvements in manufacturing operations. Procter & Gamble also has a wider goal of achieving net zero emissions across their operations and networks by 2040. This includes plans to decarbonize logistics and source 100% renewable electricity globally. Water responsibility and stewardship is another focus area. P&G has reduced water use in manufacturing by 27% per unit of production since 2010 and aims to achieve 35% reduction by 2030. They're pursuing this through water-efficient product designs, improved production processes, and partnerships in areas where water resources are limited, with the goal of restoring more water than they use. Regarding waste, the company is working to make 100% of its consumer packaging recyclable or reusable by 2030. As of now, they've reduced manufacturing waste by about 40% since 2002 and diverted the majority of waste from landfills. These efforts reflect widely accepted approaches to sustainability and show that Procter & Gamble is making meaningful progress within its industry. Environmental reporting and metrics. While Procter & Gamble's environmental goals are inspiring, the company could be more transparent about their Scope 3 emissions, which make up all indirect greenhouse gas emissions not covered in Scope 1 or 2, such as those from supply chain, product transportation, and most importantly, consumer end use and disposal. Because Procter & Gamble makes household products that need water and energy, such as laundry detergents, including popular brands such as Tide and Dawn, these downstream emissions are significant and likely make up the bulk of the company's overall environmental impact. Although Procter & Gamble have acknowledged Scope 3 as part of their net zero strategy, they haven't provided more information in this area in recent reports. More reporting in this area would further improve investor confidence and exhibit environmental accountability. Moving on, let's look at community engagement and philanthropy. Procter & Gamble's commitment to social impact is easily seen through several high-profile community programs. One of their primary efforts is the Children's Safe Drinking Water Program. Since it launched in 2004, this program has provided over 21 billion liters of clean drinking water to the people in more than 90 countries. with their goal of reaching over 25 billion liters by 2025. They also responded to disasters by sending product donations and mobile laundry services using their brands like Tide and Always. In 2023, for instance, they responded to over 30 crises and disaster events worldwide. Education is also another important part of P&G's approach to social responsibility. Their Shiksha program in India has reached over 4.5 million children with educational support, and their Pampers UNICEF partnership has helped eliminate maternal and neonatal tetanus in over 26 countries by delivering over 300 million vaccines. Additionally, their brands actively support women's health and hygiene awareness. During the COVID-19 pandemic, P&G also emphasized corporate social responsibility, but is supporting vaccine drives and developing testing-related products, further aligning its marketing efforts with public health needs. These programs work to directly address social challenges tied to the company's core products and help reduce long-term risks that could impact both communities and business operations. Next, let's look at labor, diversity, and inclusion policies and practices. Procter & Gamble also demonstrates a strong internal commitment to corporate social responsibility through its workforce practices. As of 2024, women represented 42% of the company's global workforce, and P&G has set a goal of reaching 50% representation in these roles by 2030. They've also implemented programs like unconscious bias training, sponsorship, and mentorship programs, and established a Global Inclusion Council. Furthermore, they also have implemented a Men Advocating Real Change program that encourages men to support inclusive workspaces. Their Equity and Inclusion Report reinforces these commitments, stating that we aspire to create a company where equity and inclusion are achievable for all, creating value and driving growth for our employees through our brands and our partners and in our communities. Governance and ethics. Examining Procter & Gamble from a labor viewpoint, P&G upholds stringent health and safety procedures, offers parental leave, and provides accommodations for employees with injuries and disabilities. However, although P&G claimed to provide fair and competitive wages, there is limited public data on how these wages compare to independent living wage benchmarks, especially in lower income countries where much of the manufacturing sourcing occurs. While P&G reports emphasize compliance with local labor laws and ethical sourcing practices, they do not disclose how compensation aligns with actual cost of living in these regions. This lack of transparency makes it difficult for stakeholders to evaluate the true fairness of wages throughout their entire supply chain. For a major company like P&G, providing wage data compared to living wage standards would demonstrate strong accountability and dedication to their workforce. Let's take a more in-depth look at how Procter & Gamble manages ethics and governance as part of its social responsibility efforts. P&G governance framework includes understandable ethical standards, board accountability, and executive compensation policies tied to environmental, social, and governance goals. Notably, our textbook emphasizes how CSR is no longer just a public relations issue, and that it is a fundamental part of governance. As Brigham and Earnhardt 2024 explain, in addition to say on pay, shareholders are also concerned with other issues, submitting proposals on topics dealing with political lobbying, social responsibility, and takeover defenses. This shows how CSR and governance are becoming more connected in the view of stakeholders. This perspective is further supported by Collins, 2025, who writes, P&G's strategic integration of servant leadership and entrepreneurial values has enabled the company to align business success with social responsibility, ensuring that purpose and performance reinforce one another. The board actively monitors sustainability progress and ensures participation in ethics training and connects incentive pay to goals such as lowering environmental impact and promoting gender equity. These governance practices highlight that corporate social responsibility is deeply integrated in the company's core priorities rather than treated as just an add-on. Turning now to priority areas for improvement, while P&G appears to be doing well overall, there are a few areas where the company could make improvements. First, as mentioned earlier, the company's reporting on indirect emissions, specifically Scope 3 emissions, lacks detail. Improving transparency in this area would strengthen confidence in their long-term climate strategy. Second, although they have committed to recyclable packaging, there's little information about the percentage of post-consumer recycled material they actually used. That's an important measure for tracking how well materials are being reused. Third, while the company refers to offering fair wages, there is no clear public commitment to ensuring that the compensation across its global supply chain is adequate to support basic living needs. This is an important area to monitor for companies operating in lower income regions. Fourth, they do not disclose specific data on human rights grievances or mechanisms, remediation efforts, or outcomes related to supply chain audits. And finally, 5. Recent records show a series of regulatory violations including workplace safety, environmental, and employment-related infractions. While many of these fines are relatively minor in dollar amount, they frequently suggest a need for stronger oversight and more transparent reporting on corrective actions, including a dedicated section in their sustainability or ESG reports that outlines how such issues are identified, addressed, and prevented going forward would help reinforce accountability and stakeholder trust. Some actionable recommendations include providing a breakdown of Scope 3 emissions by category, especially product use and disposal, encouraging environmentally conscious product use through consumer education efforts, sharing brand-level focus goals and processes on recycled content and packaging, improving working conditions in high production regions and increasing transparency by sharing how workers' concerns are addressed, and continuing to align processes on environmental, social, and governance goals with compensation across all levels, not just executive pay. Aligning recommendations with P&G's values. These recommendations are realistic and fit very well with P&G's brand and social values. They would assist with strengthening the company's image as a responsible business and would appeal to consumers, employees, and investors. P&G also has the resources, systems, and leadership to carry out these improvements. In many cases, they could start by testing them through programs that are currently in place. In summary, Procter & Gamble has made strong progress in shaping a corporate social responsibility strategy that considers both the reach of their influence and the priorities of their customers. When it comes to sustainability, their environmental goals demonstrate a very ambitious commitment. Their community efforts go beyond philanthropy and charity, creating lasting change in the lives of those they serve. On the governance side, the company has established various programs and channels to ensure accountability and align leadership with its broader social and environmental goals. At the same time, there are still several important areas P&G could make more progress, especially when it comes to being more open about emissions, using more recycled packaging, and making sure workers are paid fairly across the entire supply chain, and sharing more information about how workers' concerns are handled. Thank you for your time and attending today's presentation on Procter & Gamble's Corporate Social Responsibility Strategy. Have a good day.